episode 325.
In the years that I've lived, I've made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of times I thought I was dead right. I wasn't necessarily right, so I have softened. So instead, let's strategize together. How are we going to help you earn this? How are we going to help you get this education? How are we going to help you understand this part of the business? How are we going to help you have the respect of the other people in the company so that if and when you're the guy that gets to be the guy, that they will take that from you? That's what we should be thinking about, is this kind of consistent strategy to get what we want so that we both win the game together.
Welcome, aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Hello, and welcome to the power source for automotive aftermarket professionals to find veins of wisdom for growing your business and yourself as a leader. Carm Capriotto here with a very personal interview with business coach Cecil Bullard from the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. We were both in Seattle for the ASA Northwest event, ATE, in March 2018, and we sat in the studios for an interview on succession planning. This is an interview like none you've heard before. I want to thank Federal Mogul Motor Parts and Garage Gurus for their support of the premier aftermarket podcast for serious technical training and support online, on-site, and on demand. Garage Gurus is everything you need to know. Find out more? Go to fmgaragegurus.com. Hey, the network of listeners builds every week, and I'm honored to make so many connections like new Facebook friends, Lorraine and Robert Klein, John Van Buren, Harry Cousins, and my latest LinkedIn connections, Amanda Cannon, Alan Sims, Mike Mullenkamp, and Carlo Sabuco. Get connected with the podcast at remarkableresults.biz/social. Hey, so many are enjoying the podcast on my own listening app for iOS and Android. Got one of those smart devices? I'm sure you do. Get some cool features like episode highlights, my guests' pictures, and smart Bluetooth stop and start features. So you can listen while you're commuting, and you'll catch the entire episode during your to and from work. You know, it's so much better than the same old news stories. Hey, please see the new series recently created. It's a must-listen compilation for automotive technology students. It's called Automotive Students Must Listen. Share this with your educator friends and all automotive tech students. It is meant to spread the real-world stories about the strength of independence and offer a real-world view of our beloved aftermarket. Now, here's an up-close and personal interview with Cecil Bullard. Cecil is a business coach and owns the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. We had a frank discussion on succession planning. We set out to dig deep and offer shop owners a nudge to start to develop a succession plan. Some very frank and straight-up talk here. He says too many who want to get out have not started to plan at all. It takes time for a quality internal succession, if that's your path. We talk about the transition phase and the role of the current owner once the deal is done. Knowing what's next after the sale is a big part of moving forward. He says that 56% of the industry wants to get out, and if you're a family business, this will hit home. Now here's an eye-opening, real-world discussion with Cecil Bullard. Hey, warm welcome to Cecil Bullard. Hi, Cecil.
Hey, Carm.
Institute of Automotive Business Excellence. We're here at the top of the tower. Isn't this gorgeous?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, we're at ATE Northwest here. I was chatting with you here at the show. I saw you doing a lot of classes. Had a great booth. What a great event. And I couldn't help but think that you and I should just get together, rekindle some of the things that we've done in the past, and talk about business transitions.
Okay.
So you're out there. You've got a lot of clients. You've met so many people. There's all kinds of baby boomer dads out there, and the sons in the business. So we're talking to sons. We're talking to dads. We're talking to daughters. We're talking about a successful business transition from, say the legacy, maybe first, second generation family into the next. Tough stuff to talk about.
It can be really. It can be a really struggle. I've seen it go well. But also, I think more often than not, it's not clarified, it's not defined, and therefore it doesn't happen the way that it needs to happen.
What do you mean, really?
Well, I have my own experience. My father, I took over his shop. I was probably 24, 25. Ran it over about 17 years. Dad had a difficult time giving up any authority. Over time, he was supposed to gift percentages of the business as I put money into a retirement account for him. So I kept putting money into a retirement account. Now, that money came from the shop, but that money only happened in the shop because I was able to make the shop much more profitable. So we were building this retirement account. I think over the first 5 years, we put some in the neighborhood of $200,000 in this retirement account for him, and I should have had 20% of the business at that point in time. He gave me the first 5%. The other percentages didn't come. I think Dad looked at that money as already his money, and I looked at that money as I earned it for you so that I could get my part of the business.
Is part of that miscommunication? You had one idea and he had the other?
I think all problems almost always come out of miscommunication. You know, I had my expectations, he had his expectations, and the two of us did not obviously align those expectations. I can give you another example. One of the guys, not a father and son, but a business transition. So one of the guys I know really well, I knew the owner of the shop also, comes into work in this shop kind of on a 7-year plan that in 7 years he's going to buy the business. Now, he did not define, or they did not define clearly in the beginning what the out was going to look like, what the cost was going to be, what the value was going to be, or any way to define the value. So it comes to the 7 years, and the guy knows he's going to buy the business. The older guy knows he's going to sell the business. But the older guy starts to get greedy, frankly, and wants more money than the younger guy had talked about because the older guy needs the money for retirement. I get it. I understand it. But he got greedy, and he was worried that when he pulled out, that if he didn't have enough and something happened to him physically or whatever, he would be broke. And nobody wants that. So I went in and negotiated between the two of them, and I actually told the young guy, you know, he wants another $150,000 for the business, but the business is worth money. Pay him the extra $150,000. It's not going to kill you over a 10-year period. It's a very small amount of money. So he said, okay, I'll do this part. Then the roof was leaking on the building, and they were selling him the building, and it was found in the inspection. And now the owner wants him also to put $40,000 into the roof. And I told him, draw the line. There has to be a line at some point. But you see, all of that could have been avoided if 7 years earlier they had defined what that out was going to look like.
I think what you just said there, we were talking communications. You brought up a great example, and the issue is if it's not written down and it's not totally clear, then you're going to be constantly in a state of flux and change, and every new challenge that meets every day is going to put pressure on the transaction.
And I think every relationship, you know, I look at my wife, I look at my kids and my relationship with them, my coworkers, the people that work in my company, even my clients, it goes up and down. I mean, there are times where it's perfect and you look out at the world and you put a big smile on your face and you think it can't be any better than this. And then there's some times where you really struggle with it. And in those struggling times, doubt creeps into your mind. You start thinking about other things, and it can cause some real issues in not just in the relationship, but in the communication.
Facing the reality that the business needs to transition. Let's go back to the family unit. I met some great young shop owners in transition here at ATE. And I, having been in the family business, and you know, you and I can relate to each other in a very big way. I say, so is Dad working with you to get you to own the business? And all I have to do is look at that face and realize the frustration that's going on, because I need my chance. I want this. But what I want to do it while Dad is here and he's active and he's alive and he can teach me and he could be a mentor and he could be a coach. And that's what I read in their faces. And then ultimately I ask them some questions and then they start telling me that.
When it can be done, and it can. And I think it could be done almost in every instance, but I think it's very, very difficult for the father and the son. The father is coming from one place. Dad is saying, I worked my butt off for this for the last 30 years, and this is mine, and the fruits of it are mine. And the son is going, hey, but wait a minute. I've been here for the last 15 years, and I've worked really hard too, and I have contributed to this, and I would like some recognition for that contribution. And so we have two people who would like the same thing. Like it or not, one of the harsh realities is there's going to come a day in the future where my mind doesn't work the way that it should, or my body doesn't work the way that it should. And if I don't take care of that in my business now, my business goes away. And I have wonderful people working for me and with me in my company that can do a wonderful job if I mentor them now, and if we plan now, and if we help each other and we build good relationships, trusting relationships. And yet, I left my own father's shop because it came to a point where I had no hope that was ever going to happen. All right? And I would tell anyone out there that heard this, that's in their mid-50s, they better get on the ball finding their mentor, the person that they're going to bring into their company, whether it's their son, their daughter, their cousin, or just one of my great employees, and start grooming that person, because it takes time to get the education and the knowledge and go through the mistakes that you're going to make to get in a position where you can run and manage a successful company. And a lot of these guys, it's a family legacy business, and they want that to carry on, but they're not doing the things they need to in the front, and it's an ego thing. I sold funeral plans, and the hardest thing about selling funeral plans is nobody wants to think about the day that they die. I don't think there's a shop owner out there, especially in our industry. Egos are large, and that's fine. But I don't think there's a shop owner out there that really wants to seriously think about the day I have to put my tools down and walk away from my business, right? You're admitting a few things, right? And I don't want to admit those, because if and when I admit those things become real. And I'm saying you better admit it now, 7 years, 8, 10 years before it's going to happen, and you better put a plan in place, because the mentoring, the training, the education, all of that is going to take time.
Why is that too big of a phenomenon today? The dads of the businesses, the moms and the dads, are just not recognizing that there's more value in doing it open and right and getting a transition going than ignoring it. Why are people looking, not like you said in the funeral thing, they're not willing to face it?
Yeah. I don't know. I spent the first probably 45 years of my life trying to prove to my parents that I was a good guy, that I was smart, that I could get the job done, all of that. And for my father, before he died, I think he recognized that.
But he couldn't say it.
No. The generation too had issues with communication, and and even mine. I mean, we're still not good enough at saying great job and
well,
wow.
I think the boomer generation can say I love you a little bit more than the silent generation could. I spoke to a guy this weekend, and I saw on his face as an owner. I remember I'm looking at sons. I'm seeing their son's face, and I'm looking at, and it was almost like he's not ready. I had that look of like he's not ready.
A lot of that is not that he's not ready. It's that I'm not ready to give him the reins.
Yeah, I know that.
And see if he makes a mistake.
See, because in my opinion, and I wasn't going to argue with some great people I met, is to say, why do you say that? And what have you done not to make him ready?
I think that there are more people that are ready than anyone gives them credit for. And frankly, I look at my career path through the industry. I was a tech, and then I became a service advisor, and then I owned some shops, and then I'm consulting, and I ran some other people's shops and did a little dealer work and blah, blah, blah. I have made mistakes all along the way with my own company. Here I am, owner of a company. We do really well. We have lots of clients around the United States and Canada, and I still make mistakes, right? But in a way, they're my mistakes, and I can own them, and I'm not pointing my finger at somebody else. And I think, like with my son, who's a millennial, I'm extremely proud of him. He's amazing. He does some things that just, I sit back in awe of how intelligent, how smart, how organized.
You're willing to give him credit. You're doing it right now, and I think that's a code breaker.
It certainly, I think, helps me appreciate him more. I'm going to take a little side trip just because my relationship with my wife, which she would just die if she knew I would even talk about it, but I'm sorry I do, is we're 35 years married. And when we were 7 years married, we almost got divorced. And, we've had some rocky patches along the way. And even recently, we've had a rocky patch. What I recognize about myself is that, I don't know if it's because I'm a tech or because I was a tech for so long or whatever, I tend to look at what's wrong and not what's right. Okay? So when my marriage is the rockiest is when I'm focused on all the wrong things. Okay? And when my marriage is the best is when I'm focused on all the right things. Mendelssohn basically kind of says people will act like you treat them. So if I'm angry with my wife for whatever presumed slight, she didn't pick me up at the airport on time, she didn't get my laundry from the laundry place, whatever, didn't happen the way I wanted, then all of a sudden I'm looking at more and more wrong stuff and not more and more right stuff. When we're in a good space, I only look at the good stuff. And that is something I think that's necessary when we're bringing somebody into our business that we want to take over for us.
So what you're saying is if father and son are having good times, there's a good time relationship, and if it's not working, it's a bad. I mean, where's the leadership coming up here making it all right?
I think that oversimplifies it because relationships are exceptionally complicated. At least mine are. I think that attitude and my attitude makes the difference. Now,
relate this to how we're going to do a transition at the shop. Are you speaking? You're the dad. You're the dad. Okay.
I am the dad. I have a son who's working with me in my business. I am 56 years old. I'm diabetic. I'm pretty healthy, but I run pretty hard, right? I've done it my entire life. At some point in time, I don't know, 59, I have a heart attack. I know other guys that have had heart attacks, strokes, etc., at younger ages than that, all right? Or maybe I stay healthy till I'm 65 or whatever. But at some point in time, my son needs to know how to run that business and be respected by the other people in that business as the guy who can run the business. Even if I teach him how to run the business, but I don't build that respect for him, and he doesn't build that respect for him, then the other people in the business don't look at him the right way.
I get it. But you are willing, you're telling me right now you're willing to let go and create a plan of transition.
I don't know, frankly. I think I am. I want to. I know it's necessary. But parts of me say, he's not ready. Right?
Yeah.
He needs to know this. And I think...
But what are you doing about it then?
Well, we're mentoring with other people. Where I don't get along... I have other people in my company who have really great talents that I'm having him work with.
Got it.
I'm giving him responsibility, and, he does a great job with it mostly, but every once in a while, something falls through the cracks.
I'm talking with Jonathan Cicchelli, a technical product specialist with Federal Mogul Motor Parts. So, Jonathan, how does a service professional get the Guru on the Go van to their shop?
There's a couple ways. We do what we call cold calls, where we go around and just visit shops based on geographics. And there's also times where we team up with outside sales reps from other parts distributors and visit the shops on that basis.
So I love this. You pull into a shop on a cold call. They see the van, and they're probably excited to see you.
Yeah. I've had a couple shops where they've already heard of the Gurus via Facebook or social media, So when I show up, they've already been signed up and taken online classes, and now that the van's there, it's really easy to book a lunch and learn.
So you're really an extension of the Garage Guru training centers.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're all done with your lunch and learn. You spend 45 minutes to an hour. Probably that's all you can really get from a busy, busy shop. What are the technicians saying about your shop visit?
Oh, they love it. They thank me, every second I'm walking out the door and just can't wait for me to come back again.
Federal Mogul Motor Parts' Garage Gurus is your go-to source for the vehicle training, technology, and answers you need to keep your next job on track. On-site, online, or on demand, the Gurus are here to help keep your business and your career on the road to success. Visit fmgarageguru.com. Please, everyone, as you're listening to what Cecil is saying about his own unique situation, please relate it to your service business.
Right.
I heard you say getting other people to mentor him, knowing we have to create respect within the organization of this individual, and at the same time you feel great about, no matter if it's a 15-year transition or who knows, preparation for something that could happen, something catastrophic, you're at least starting a plan. Have you sat down and let's go away from you and your son, and let's take an example, or based on some of your experiences at the service professional level. What kind of coaching are you giving a shop owner who says, "Hey, Cecil, it's Carm. I really, really need to make some major moves with my family. I've got to figure out how to back out and get a justified order of transition going." What do you tell them in the beginning?
Define what you want. You want, as the senior person who's done all the work, define what it is today that you want out of this business, out of the relationship that you're going to have with whoever's going to take over your business, and what you would like to walk away with.
So we're talking right out of the chute money?
I believe so, frankly. I think that's what it comes down to, and I think that's what, if I have a number for my retirement, and I'm not at that number, obviously, because I'm still here. I don't know that when that number comes, I'll retire, but I'll be able to, and that will take some load off of my shoulders. So, unfortunately, in business, a lot of things come down to cold hard cash. How much money do I need to walk away from my business and feel comfortable to live the rest of my life, whatever that's going to be, not knowing what that is.
You're beginning with the end in mind. You're basically saying, I need to have a plan to cash out like this, and then we have to figure out how to transist the leadership inside the business so that we can generate the income, put the money away, transfer ownership. I just think it's so difficult to get to stage one today.
Well, yeah, because, again, when I sit down and try to think about this and try to put the pieces in place, I have to admit that there's going to come a day that I can't be the guy that runs my business.
Bingo. Okay. There it is. I'm not going to be the guy that runs my business. And I got the number figured out. Can I give up control?
My business, for me, first of all, being a consultant, I think you have to have ego. I don't know. I think I have 2 shares of that. And so being the guy that can get in front of a class and teach people and see change, and being the guy that goes to a shop and helps a shop owner, earn an extra $200,000 next year and change the lives of their families is everything, right? And can I give that up? And by the way, no matter what, I have to, because there will come a point in time where I can't continue.
Okay, so it's your juice. I get it, okay?
Right.
Do you have to plan to have a new juice after?
I think it helps if you have other things in your life. And so I'm not heeding my own advice here, in that I work so much in the business that I don't have a lot of other things in my life.
Right.
I think I'd like to travel. We've started doing that the last couple of years. I read a lot. There's other hobbies, but nothing gives me the thrill that I have that when I do what I do.
Say you worked out the numbers, and do you find that the next most critical piece is having worth after retirement. So here we're taking the family, son or daughter, second generation, third, through the business. We've got a great plan. We figured it out. Do you work a lot with the owner to say, what's life going to look like? Listen, we love you to coach. We love you to mentor. We want you to hang around. You've been the face of the business. But remember, you don't control it or run it anymore. Do you try to define a new role? Is that part of the big problems is, well, what do I do? I can't lose control. Maybe the code breaker is, let's find something for mom and dad to do.
Yeah, maybe it is. But I think it's more involved than that. Maybe that's some small piece of it. You know, my vision for myself, and again, that's what I know, that's what I can talk about along with some companies I've helped, is to be the chairman of the board. You know, I'm still going to be the Colonel Sanders. I'll have 2 or 3 clients, but maybe I only work 1 week out of the month. And the rest of the time, I'm going to go play and enjoy the rest of my life until whatever happens, and I'm less capable than I am at the time. But in my world, if I don't bring someone, in this case my son, and get him educated and give him stripes, let him fail, let him make mistakes, work with him on that and help him learn what he needs to learn, then when that time comes, I'm not going to have someone, and it's going to cost me dearly. It's going to cost me in my relationship with my son, which, by the way, is everything, right? But it's also going to cost me financially because I haven't set my business transition up for success. And so I'm going to end up getting less and actually probably getting pushed completely out of the business at that point in time, because if I bring a stranger in, they certainly don't want my old self there to tell them what to do. They're going to have their own ideas and visions. And I think that's the other thing that we have to do in the beginning is talk about ideas and visions with our people that might take the company over and start implementing some of those things. And then, by the way, once they're implemented, the ones that are successful, give 120% of the credit to your son or your mentor, the kid you're mentoring, whatever that is, because they need those wins to build the confidence that they need to move this thing forward the right way.
I just loved what you said about failure. And on a daily basis, I am imperfect.
Yes, sir.
And I learn from it all the time. I look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. And I think there's a lot of boomers that want to put certain failures in their life so deep and far back behind them, they don't quite remember that in their young 35 to 40-year-old range, somehow they got to be this wise old sage in only one way. And they have got to be there. To me, the biggest piece of this, and I don't know why, because you and I are similar, and I had an interesting family background, is you've got to allow that next generation to fail forward with you, not telling them woulda, coulda, shoulda, but to pick and to prop and push and to motivate and to coach and to mentor and have that new role. I guess what I'm saying is learn to pick a new role. Get the consultant, work out the numbers, put it on paper. Everybody sign off on it. Now get into the soft skills on making the leadership change.
There comes a point where you become the coach and not the dad, and you have to. Your relationship changes. I think when kids are teens, they strike out against their parents a bit. You can't tell me what to do. I'll come home when I want. And they misbehave on purpose to see what you're going to do, and to experience life, frankly. And my thought is that if my father had, my mom and dad were both different. Dad was interesting. One time I was out very, very late. The car broke down, 3 a.m. I call him. He picks me up, 3 a.m. I had to drive across town. I mean across town, 35 minutes to get me. And at 3 a.m, he doesn't say 2 words the whole way home. I'm 18, maybe 17. Good night, son. Good night, Dad. Thank you, Dad. I go to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. he's in my room knocking on my door. Time to get up and go to work, right? It was his way of kind of saying, hey, you screwed up. You shouldn't have been out late. I shouldn't have had to come get you. But he wasn't mad about it. He wasn't angry about it. He just wanted me to have to get up early like him and experience what he experienced. You know, I said you need to let him fail. I'm going to say that more severely. I don't think that you can stop in the middle of their failure and put your hands out and catch them. You have to let them fall all the way to the ground, whatever that costs. When we're mentoring our business, when we're looking at our business, we have employees who have ideas that we don't agree with necessarily. If we're smart, we weigh the consequences, the loss that could happen. So I've got a tech, I don't know, maybe he wants to put a certain engine in a certain way in a certain car, and if that thing fails, it's going to cost me $20,000. That's catastrophic financially for my business, so I can't let that happen. But if that's $1,000 loss, let him fail, because you don't learn without failure. We learn the most when we fail. Fathers and daughters, fathers and sons, family, we have this tendency to want to reach out and save them all of the time. And I do too. It is the most painful thing in my life to watch one of my children fail and not go over there and say, stop. But on the other side of that, once they've failed, you also can't go, I told you so, because now you cut the whole relationship off.
Yeah.
You have to say, okay, how can I help you? In the Batman movie where he's fallen in the pit and he's in there with the bats and Alfred comes and he goes, young Bruce, why do we fall? And he says, so that we can learn how to get up. That's the key, right? And we don't need to get up if we never fall. We have to back off almost 100% and let what happens going to happen.
Okay, great advice. I love it. Let them go all the way down. Hold back the tendency to offer help. It's huge advice right there.
And we're the generation that fought every battle for our children.
Yeah, we wanted it to be better for them.
At school, yeah, because it wasn't as good as we thought it was for us. But you know what? We've come out pretty good from what our parents did. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but we came out pretty dang good. And now we're doing things to our children, for our children, and sometimes maybe that's a little much, and they need to stretch out on their own and see what's going to happen.
Look over the client base, the people that you've met here, the people you know in the industry. Is this a huge, huge issue that we're going to have to deal with, which is this whole evolution of getting into the next generation? Call it succession planning, call it an exit strategy. I mean, we got to start working hard on this.
There was an article recently from an insurance company that did a bunch of statistical data in the industry, and it basically said that I think it was 56% of the industry wants out. And we're not talking about over the next 10 years. We're talking about by the year 2018. What year is it? And there's another statistic, and I'll mess it up, and I'm going to go ahead and mess it up and tell you right off the bat. I'm not stating it exactly correctly, but the average age of a shop owner is almost, I think, 60.
I think it's getting. A few years ago, I read 55,
59.
Yeah. And I just recently read, Cecil, 60, and it blew me away.
Yeah. So if the majority of the shop owners are in that age range, and 58% of those people want out of the business, they should have started 7 years ago planning this.
Okay, is it an internal candidate? Is it they don't know how to? I mean, I guess this is worthy of a bunch of. We should do some shows on this.
It depends on a lot of things. I think it depends on, again, you said, what do you do first? Well, first, this is about me. I'm the owner, and I have to get out of this feeling good about how I'm getting out of my business. So if I want to just get out and I don't have family around, then I get out. If I don't have a good relationship with my kids and they won't listen to me, then I better find somebody else, or I better build that relationship up. And by the way, relationships take time. Okay? So if I want to move out, in my opinion, I used to say, this is how it is. Now I say, in my opinion.
Oh, you're
more
softening
often.
up? What's going on here?
I don't know, baby. In my opinion, the best way to get out of your business is to plan it 6, 8 years ahead, determine what you think the value will be, bring somebody in, son, daughter, best technician, whoever that is. Probably they're going to be 10 to 15 years younger than you at least, maybe 25, and plan this thing and get them ownership in the business. And we use phantom stock as a tool to get ownership in the business, because phantom stock doesn't come with a lot of value until there's an event, until the business is sold. And phantom stock is not voting stock. So I still gain control of the business. And if that person leaves, I buy them out for pennies on the dollar, and it doesn't hurt me much.
And those are great transitions, no matter if it's family or not.
Doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to do is get whoever it is to own 20% of my business by the time I'm ready to get out, because now they can go right to the SBA.
Absolutely.
And get the money. And the other thing is that business has to have real value. And if it doesn't have real value, it's not financeable, and you're actually hurting your son or daughter if you're giving it to them.
Yes, and show me you can earn. The thing I love about what you just said is you've got to earn this 20%.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be given. I'm not going to give you 5% a year for 4 years. You're going to earn it based on the profitability of the company. Now, here is your stage. Show me.
Right. And so you have goals, and I think you also have projects. And I think one of the other things is I can't expect my son to be me, okay? Because he's not. I'm a D personality, strong D personality with a healthy I and some C. My son is a very strong C personality. His talents lie in different areas than my talents.
Oh, by the way, it's really important to do a disc. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Because that blend of communication skills, if parents want to know why they don't communicate well with their children, take a disc and then learn how to deal with the opposites.
And you might find that a lot of your frustrations are only because you're thinking this kid should be me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, holy smokes, I'm hoping I'm rather unique.
Right.
Right? On the other hand, I want my son or my daughters to be better than me, frankly. I want them to be smarter than me. I want them to make less mistakes than I made. I want them to learn from my mistakes. But I can't force that on them. The better I build the relationship, the more likely that we're going to be able to communicate, and the more likely that I'm going to get what I want out of this whole thing. And I think what is one of the most difficult things is there are times where you just want to scream and yell because something went wrong that is just egregious to you. And that's the time where you maybe need to be the adult and go, nah, this is not a place where I should be screaming and yelling. This is a place where they learned a valuable lesson. Okay, hey, what happened and what did you learn about that? And so next time, what would you do differently that would give you a better outcome? And you can see that's the coach in me coming out instead of the father in me going, damn it, I told you. The thing that my father was incapable of doing was giving me, I feel, the respect for running his shop. Now, other people after Dad died came up to me and said, hey, your father really appreciated, your father really loved, your father really blah, blah, blah. But to me, that was not enough because I needed to hear it from his lips. I don't need him to cry. I don't need him to, smooch my butt regularly, whatever that is. I mean, in fact, I can't even imagine my father, being that way. But if once in a while he said, wow, thank you so much for doing this and for accomplishing this for our company, for me, it would have changed the world. And unfortunately, I left.
I said something a few minutes ago, and I started to think about what I said, show me. And I realized that was a wrong thing to say because you don't want to have a transition in place and then be the dad and say, okay, show me. That was wrong to say because what I started to think about is, okay, great. We've got the plan in place. You're going to start earning out. We're going to do this. We've got the number in mind. Now, you teach me, I teach you.
Yeah.
You help me, I help you. I coach you, you coach me. We mentor you. You mentor me. I'm going to get you a business coach. We're going to do all this stuff together. And in the next 5 years, hey, you could own 20% in 3. It may take 8. Okay, we have to figure this all out. We could have some economic challenges coming up, but that's the relationship that I believe needs to start happening instead of, okay, I did the deal, we've signed on the dotted line. Please, Dad, don't kick back, but be involved to the degree that you will not smother your next generation.
I think what you said is exceptionally valuable. We have that show me tendency. When I've decided what I want out of my business, now I can set some standards and goals in place, and I can strategize with the person, and that's what I want to do. I think I know what's right, but frankly, in the years that I've lived, I've made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of times I thought I was dead right. I wasn't necessarily right, so I have softened. So instead, let's strategize together. How are we going to help you earn this? How are we going to help you get this education? How are we going to help you understand this part of the business? How are we going to help you have the respect of the other people in the company so that if and when you're the guy that gets to be the guy, that they will take that from you? That's what we should be thinking about is this kind of consistent strategy and strategizing consistently to get what we want so that we both win the game together.
So see if you agree with this statement. It's not always in the genes.
No, it's not, frankly.
And you said that a little earlier. He's of my cloth. He should be like me, right?
Right.
And to me, it's almost like they're sitting on the sidelines waiting for that. I'm looking to see me. And when I see me, then I know it's time. That's not going to happen.
It ain't.
It's not in the genes.
In fact, I don't want him to be me, frankly. My life is a tough life. I hold myself to a very high standard. I run around like a chicken with my head cut off. I don't relax.
The old adage, maybe he can work smarter than harder.
The poor kid looks like me, so he's going to carry that anyway.
I saw that. I saw that. Let's just consider that this great talk that we had could get someone taking a next step. And I want to encourage any family member, even any great long-term manager of a place that, had sat and heard a little, maybe someday we can work a deal out. Every day you don't talk about that stuff is one day further away and harder to get up the ladder and to put it together.
One of the things you never want to do with an employee, and believe it or not, my son is an employee, is you don't want to put out there promises that you cannot keep. Mm-hmm. Put some structure around it so that you understand what it is that you need to get out, and then work towards those things with that person, whoever that person is.
I think it's a great point. If what you're saying, let me paraphrase, if you're starting to have a dialogue. You own the business. I've worked for you for 10 years. You don't have family. And you said to the wife, I'm going to sit down and talk to Carm. I walk away from this meeting. I go to my wife, and I tell her what I heard. And what I heard was different what you said.
Most likely.
I know. And so that's another caveat I think you were trying to say.
It's another reason to write it down.
Confirm and clarify.
When you write it down, it becomes clear. There's more clarity.
There's much more clarity.
Right.
Let me get this right. What you're asking me and what you're suggesting to me, and listen, there's like 10 more discussions like this that we need to have. Let's continue to crystallize it. You go back on your side and you think nothing's locked in gold until we get some things on paper, because that's what happens. And I've seen some deals like that.
Again, it starts with, here's what I want. Can you deliver this to me? Are you willing to deliver this to me such that you could own this company and run the company? Now, as part of that, I want you to be mentored either by me or by somebody else, because I don't want the company to fail. There's an ego part of that, but then there's also a financial part of that.
I don't want it back.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. The reason that we use phantom stock and we want 20% or so in their hands is because now they can go pay me and I'm out. Mm-hmm. For some guys, that's a nightmare. Some guys are like, I don't want to be out. I always want to have some hand in this thing. But I'll tell you what, when someone else owns your company and someone else is telling you what to do and they're taking it in a direction you don't like, that's not where you want to be. Okay? And I always recommend Sell it outright. Walk away. Don't stay for a year and try to tell the guy how to run it. If you haven't taught him how to run it already, you're not in a place where you should be selling it. And the guy has other ideas, other thoughts. He's going to try those because he's going to be the owner now. And you're not going to like necessarily what he does, whether it works or doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because it's not the way you would have ran the business. The best thing in the world is to get out. With all that said, I don't know if I can get out, right? Because I love what I do. I love my clients.
But you're not ready. There's a point that says you're not ready. And when you're not ready, it's tough to come up with the plan.
But in my head,
you're working on it.
I know there's a point, and I'm doing what I can. I've got my son being mentored by some very intelligent, very well-known. They understand the industry. They know shops like I know shops. He'll never be, unless I trade him out to a shop for 5 years and have him work in a shop for 5 years, he's not going to be the shop guy. But as long as he has good shop guys that work with him, he can run the company forever.
Any CEO always hires great people to be around him. Or
better than themselves if they're smart.
Absolutely right. What do we miss?
Get the ego out of the way.
Yeah.
Bury it. It has no place in this discussion. And we did say don't try to be like me. Yeah, I don't know that that's necessary. I mean, there's some pretty good things that I do. There's some things that maybe you should emulate that I do as a leader. I mean, I think I motivate my troops. I think I let them be themselves. I think I let them make mistakes. I think we constantly strategize in our company. And it's amazing. You know, we've had a marketing issue, and recently I sat down with my millennials and I said, okay, you know, we have a marketing issue. What are we going to do about that? And 3 of them got together and came up with 4 or 5 things. And in the last 5 months, that marketing issue is going away severely. So, you know, let them have some freedom to take on some projects that aren't going to kill you.
And let them change the business.
Yeah,
let them change the business while you're still there. And that is, that's tough.
I don't know. They need to be excited about this, and they need to be excited like you are. I mean, I know you wake up in the morning and you think, I get to do this today.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And I do too. But I need them to wake up in the morning with that kind of enthusiasm, because otherwise they're going to dull. I'm not going to get what I need from them. And I think that's every employee. But also, then they walk away. They don't stay.
I'm sure there's a part 2 here to have.
Anytime, sir.
Thanks, man. Cecil Bullard, Institute Automotive Business Excellence. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Cecil Bullard. Hey, we did get into some very deep discussion that many aftermarket owners will value. Thank you for that. I think this was a hat trick of a discussion. Thanks for your transparency as far as your own plans and experiences. Many can relate. See the show notes and find a link to previous episodes with Cecil at remarkableresults.biz/E325. Hey, I just recently added a photos page to the website. See over 70 pictures of events where I've mingled with industry colleagues. Carm Capriotto here, thanking you for your listenership. Now, don't forget to share with a friend, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time,